And what that did was that gave us a new event. An event, like we just learned, is composed of a condition as well as an action. The condition says when something happens, and then the action says what to do when that thing happens. So the first thing we want to do is we want to set up a collision so that when our opponent collides with our go left, something happens. But that's not the first thing we want to do. That's one of the things we want to do. In doing that, in setting that up, there is something we need to do actually first. So we're going to go back to new scene. And what we're going to do is we're going to click on our opponent. We're going to left click on these three dots right here. And we're going to click edit object variables. And what we're going to do is we're going to click this plus button here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to make a variable named left. And we're just typing left, and then we're going to click apply. Now that we have that variable in, that variable is going to help us to have our programming work here. So we're going to click on new scenes and events. Now what we want to do is set up a collision for go left. So we're going to click add conditions, add conditions. And then what we're going to do is go to common conditions for all objects. We're going to look for collision. We're then going to click collision again. And then now we're going to choose go left. And we want this go left to collide with to have something happen when it collides with an object. That object is our opponent. So we're going to click the opponent, and then we're going to click OK. Okay, so we told Gdevelop when this happens, we want something to happen. What we want to happen is when our opponent collides with go left, we want to have our variable equal 1. And then we'll deal with more about what we want to happen once that equals 1 later on. For now, what we're going to do is click add action. We're going to go to common action for all. When I clicked on common action for all, notice how this arrow is now pointing up. These other ones are pointing down. This lets you know that even though this isn't grayed out or anything, I clicked here. This is important because in Gdevelop there are multiple variables. There are object variables, scene variables, global variables. You want to work with an object variable. As long as you clicked on this common action for all, which you can tell I did by this arrow pointing up, you can go to variables and you can see that this is an object variable, which is what we want. So we're also going to select on modify a variable of an object. The object that we want is the opponent because that's where we put the variable on. We're going to click here where we see variable. I'm then going to click left to choose that variable. For the modification sign, we're going to click here and select equal set to. And then for the number here, we're going to put in 1 and then click OK. Okay, one of the nice things in Gdevelop is a lot of times if you have to do multiple things that are very similar to other multiple things, Gdevelop makes it very easy to replicate actions. So what we want to do now is we want to make another event, right? Be careful when you do this. If I click here and I go to this button, I'm going to make a, long story short, just click here, click near the bottom so you have this blue line going across here, and then click new event. Because what you want is when you make this new event, you want this new event, see this blue, how this blue is lined up here. In Gdevelop, there's sub-events. If you have a sub-event in the wrong place, it can affect your programming. So you want to make sure that when you make your new event, like these two blue boxes are lined up, that's how things should be. So what we can do, because we have this code here set up, this programming here set up, and we're about to do something very similar for go right, we can click here, right? So I could click here, or I can click here in this white, and that lets me select all of this. Even though you don't see anything selected, it's pretty much like I'm selecting on all of this stuff where you see this blue line going along the bottom here. So with that done, I'm going to right click and then select copy. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to left click near the white here. So this now has this blue line. So with that done, I'm going to right click again and click paste. And what you have seen happen is we have this same programming set for here. And we did that just so we could make things go a little quicker so we didn't have to put as much information in. We can, as far as changing this, we could double click here to go inside of this condition, or we can click on where we see go left here. And what we can do is, once we get rid of that selection that we already had, now we can just click go right. So go right is in collision with opponent. That's what we want. And now for this do, and this do is basically saying the variable is going to equal this. We want to change this to 0. Now again, we could have double clicked in here and did this. If you want to do that, that's fine. Gdevelop is set up just to make things as fast, as easy as it can for you, and the multiple ways that things are set up. Okay, what we want to do now is add another condition. And this condition is going to set up so that our animation is working correctly. So we're going to go to add condition. We're going to go to sprite, animations and images, and we're going to go to current animation, left click there. We're working with our opponent's animations. We're going to left click there. And then for the sign of the test, we're going to click here and we're going to select equal to. And then for the number to test, we're going to enter in 0. And then we're going to click OK. So now we have this thing that says the number of the current animation of the opponent is 0. Okay, what we want to do here, I had mentioned sub events for your sub conditions. What we want to do is make sure we're clicked on this blue line here. All right, so you can see that. And now we were clicking this button. Now we want to click this button so that we added a sub event. And when you can see the sub event is indented from the event. The sub event also will be dependent on this condition right here, or I should say sub condition is dependent on this right here. Okay, so what we want to do now is add another action to here. So we're going to click add action. We're going to go to sprite. We're going to go to effects. We're then going to go to flip the object horizontally. We're going to select opponent because the graphics for our opponent are already facing to the left. When there says activate flipping, we're going to select no, and then we're going to click OK. Okay, and what this will do is our graphics are set. The way that we have the graphics for our opponent is the graphics go in one direction, but Gdevelop is going to flip those graphics so it looks like we have, the opponent facing to the left, which the graphics are, and then to the right, which the graphics are really set up so you just see the opponent going to the left, but this flip is going to flip the graphics so the opponent looks like it's going to the right. Okay, so what we want to do now is click here, and we're clicking here in this white right here, right above this line, to get this blue here. The reason why we're doing that is we want to make another sub event. So we're going to left click here. This gives us another sub event. Now we want to click here, again, right above this line here. We're clicking so we can get this blue line surrounding all of this right here. And the reason why we're doing that is so we can go right click, copy. Then we're going to click here so we have that blue line here. We're going to right click, paste, and now we have a copy of this code to here, which just saves us time. Okay, so this saves us some time. However, remember, this code was set up so that when this variable is set for 1, we tell it what to do. So now we have this where this is set to 0. So this needs to be set up so that this is set up for 0. So what we're going to do is just click here, and we'll change this to 0. Another thing is we have this set up for simulate pressing right. We need to set this for simulate pressing left. So to do that, we'll double click here. We'll go to the platform behavior again. Okay, platform. Okay, there we go. And then we're going to go to we're already on controls. And now we want simulate left key press. We're going to left click there. And then we're going to just click OK. Okay, so now we have for this flip horizontally opponent where it says no, we need to change this to yes. Okay, before we go any further, we have this set up for go left, and then we have left here. We have things set up so that when the opponent collides with the go left object, Gdevelop will set the variable for 1. When Gdevelop sees the variable is set for 1, then it's supposed to make this go, what this says right here, go left. So this is not correct. So let's fix this. So we're going to double click here, and we're just going to change this to simulate left. Press OK. The same thing for here. This should be when the opponent collides with the go right object, the variable is set for 0. When Gdevelop sees the variable is set for 0, then this should go right. This is currently set for left, so let's fix that. Okay, and with that done, now when we select this preview, we can see that there our opponent character is going along and he is, responding like he should. However, we want things that look like the character is choosing to turn around before he walks off the edge. We don't want it to make it look like he's bumping into these things. So let's set that up now. Okay, and the way we're going to set that up is we're going to go to Add Condition. We're going to go to Scene. We're going to set this for at the beginning of the scene. The rest of this is okay. We're going to click OK. Now what we're going to do is go to Add Action. And then we're going to go to Common Objects for All. We're going to go to Visibility. We're going to select Hide. And then we're going to select Go Left to hide. And then we're going to right click, copy, paste this, and then change this from go left to go right. And basically what this is saying is, remember, conditions say when something happens, actions say, what to do. So at the beginning of the scene, hide the object, go left, hide the object, go right. So now when we click a preview button, now things look like our character is choosing to turn around rather than hitting objects, and that's what we want. Okay guys, that's it for the tutorial. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Also share it with your friends, and if you are new to this channel, if you liked videos on this channel and you would like to see more, please subscribe, and thank you for viewing.